Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up? How you doing? How you been? What's going on? What's good? How you getting it in? Body getting it funny. What's going on, people? Okay, this is hitting the internet as far as August the 14th, 2017, which would be yesterday. A bodybuilder, 30 years old, knocked a transgender pal unconscious and tried to strangle her after making cruel taunts about her gender and cocaine fuel range. So he is evidently, allegedly on cocaine and stuff. Now, David called Tamzin Yates a fucking freak and a fucking tranny and a brutal assault. And David Sharples, pictured outside Manchester's Minshull Street Crown, was handed a suspension license for assaulting a transgender woman. The 30-year-old had been drinking and taking cocaine when he had punched and tried to strangle Tamzin Yates. Now, Manchester's Minshull Street Crown Court heard how David, now living in Derby, was Tasman's personal trainer and had been drinking and he abused her in October 2015. He verbally abused her, calling her a freak and a fucking tranny. When she retaliated by slapping him, he punched her in the face, knocked her out. And when she regained consciousness, he was laughing with his hands around her throat. Now, David pleaded guilty as far as assault and cruising as far as the actual body harm as previously here in June as far as this year. During the police interviews, he admitted that punching, putting a timer on the microwave as far as giving the victim 10 minutes to leave his flat, as far as claiming that she had assaulted him first and that he was basically doing everything as far as being retaliated is doing as far as in his head. Now, during the police interview, David admitted that putting the timer on the microwave and giving the victim pictures as far as 10 minutes to leave his flat. Now, Jasmine said that it is not okay to accept violence just because someone has an issue with your gender. Now, David punched her in the face, knocking her out, and when she regained consciousness, he laughed at her and her hands with his hands around her throat. He was given a 16-month imprisonment sentence for 18 months. He must complete $180 unpaid work as far as 20 hours rehabilitation. Prosecutor David Jones told the court that he started shouting at her, telling her to leave, and he said that with collecting her belongings, the defendant got angrier. He said that he was shouting at her, telling her that she was a fucking freak and that she was a fucking tranny and was particularly abusive towards Miss Yates, and said he described her as a pre-operation transgender woman. He continued verbally abusing her and spat at her and spit in her face, and Miss Jasmine admitted that by that point she had had enough of abuse, and she is accept that she slapped the defendant as a result of the abuse. And he is 6-foot bodybuilder, and he started at her. He stared at her at the moment before punching her in the face. Once called her in the face as far as, she falls to the floor. Now, she believes that she lost consciousness for a period of time, and she recalled coming to with the defendant strangling her, grabbing her repeatedly, and smashing her in the head against the floor. She claims that this happened 9 times or so. And she said she was eventually able to get up on her feet and stuff and was knocked out at the defendant. That then she strangled, and during the struggle she decided that every time she went to strike at him, the defendant would grab her even harder, and he would change his grip on her, and she was struggling to breathe as far as potential relentless, as far as unconscious. But she held, the defendant said that she see how many times sleeper hold I could put her on, and he was laughing, and as he did so, he then grabbed her by her hair and dragged her down the corridor as far as threw her on the flat still continuing with his transphobic abuse. She was abused. She had abusing all over her body and bloody nose, and was taken to MRI, which was given an X-ray and stuff. And he pleaded guilty as far as assault to her, as far as actually bodily harm, previously hearing in June this year after the attacking Tasman pictured and stuff, and said he was aware that she was transgender while acting as her personal trainer and stuff, and that the part had been out drinking, and that Tasman saw two sides of David personally, and was even in that even as far as October of 2015. This is my thing. You out with the train and stuff like that, and allegedly y'all was doing cocaine and stuff, which is a medically induced drug and stuff. And I'm not knocking how anybody gets down and stuff like that, but you're on cocaine a lot of times. You're doing coke, and then you're drinking, and you're doing all this extra stuff like that. And here it is, clearly looks like there's some type of friendship there within you too. That's something more that's going on and stuff. But my thing is just that, it gets to the point where you get abused and stuff. Abuse is abuse. Wrong is wrong. When somebody put their hands on you, you leave them alone and stuff like that. She's a very pretty girl, and it's really sad that she had to go through something like this. But, I'm doing this video as far as, wake up call for anybody who ever been abused and stuff. You never really know where it's going to come from. Here, that she has a personal trainer that basically abused her and stuff. And the thing about it was that I just don't understand a part of y'all doing talking about let me just read this one more time. Bodybuilder knocked the transgender pal. See, that's the part that gets me. Knocked the transgender pal unconscious and tried to strangle her after making cruel taunts about her gender as far as a cocaine feed rage. I don't know, but like I said before, I feel as though there's two parties here, and I feel as though my point, just my opinion, I feel as though both is using cocaine and stuff, and things just got out of hand, and he went crazy on her and stuff like that, and he should have got his butt locked up and stuff. But at the end of the day, my thing is this, is that if you have first a friend that you feel as though that you feel like you get high with them and stuff like that, don't be surprised to act like a damn fool when they get high. Because you're talking to someone who's conscious, and once they're under the influence, you never know who you're about to meet after that time. It's not about a trans thing. It's about a thing of being real. Because it's not about a transgender movement. I mean, I know people who are straight society, and they get high, and they get drunk high together, and they meet somebody totally different, and they beat them the hell up. And they don't even know what they're doing, and they have to come back the next day and apologize. So, that being said, I just wanted to share the story with you and stuff like that, as far as this, and it went on and stuff. And I love to hear feedback on this. I want to let you know I love you, and I want to thank you for watching Catch the Rays.